Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar, Forex Trade and Live Market Analysis. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thank you for attending. Now, before we get into it, if you can read through the risk disclaimer, any questions to the question box or the chat box. If you're on a YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat through the course of the webinar, so I can't answer your questions, but you're more than welcome to use the link that I've given you and join us in the webinar. So simply click register and join us. So if everybody can read through the risk disclaimer before we get into it. All right, let's move along. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities, and I'm a full-time trader. Been trading now in the Forex market for more than 15 years, mentoring clients for more than 10. Any questions about the webinars, you can just send me an email, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And if you want to connect with me in the week, you can get me at our website, acy.com Market News tab. Get my analysis there at our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And if you connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, you'll pretty much get the same there. And if you want to get up-to-date analysis, then join our Telegram. Just contact Nathan Bray. His email's at the bottom there. I'll put his email in the chat momentarily. If you want to get access to the chart layouts that I'm using in my webinars and in the analysis that I provide, then just contact Nathan. He will set you up. So I'll just put details in the chat. His email and phone numbers there. If you've got any questions about anything, opening an account maybe, just getting your chart set up, getting access to the Telegram, just give him a contact. All right, so let's get into what the news is for the week. So let me just bring that up. So we've got a few risk events coming out this week. For the calendar this evening, we've got their CPI, their inflation figures coming out. So at 10:30 p.m. So if you're trading anything to do with Canada, well, that's going to be highly volatile at that time. Getting tomorrow, Wednesday, for the pound, we've got the CPI. That's, again, inflation. Then moving into the morning of Thursday, we've got the US FOMC statement, federal fund rate, and the press conference at 4:30. So expecting a 25 basis point rise. It's some conjecture as to whether they would rise at all, but saying that at the moment, anticipating a 25 basis point rise, and then we've got the press conference. So it's going to be very volatile around that time. Later in the day for Thursday as well, we've got Swiss franc, Swiss then interest rate decision, a monetary policy statement, and we've got the UK at 10 p.m. pound interest rate decision, so on and so forth, expecting a 25 basis point rise there. So lots of central banks coming out, US, Swiss, UK. All right, and then there's more items there on Friday, but we can get to Friday's items on Thursday. But the big one for the week will most definitely be the US interest rate decision, how the market reacts to that and sets itself up for that as well. And there's a bit of a mix in the market for sure at the moment. Some pairs to the US dollar moving down, like the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. Pound dollar today is moving down, but the Aussie dollar has been moving up. So and the US dollar's been moving, the US dollar to Japanese yen's been moving up as the Euro dollar's been moving up. So then the Euro yen's been moving up quite aggressively. So not perfect correlation at the moment. So it is what it is. That's the market. Market's always right. We try to be right with the market. Okay, so let's just have a look at the charts. Let's just get into it at the moment. First of all, we'll have a look at the dollar index. Now, I have been using this monthly top here. This is the monthly chart of the dollar index as my reference for strength, but I am just changing my policy a little bit. Yes, from pure strength, if we're above those tops, that satisfies me that we are seeing US dollar strength. However, let's move. This is an uptrend on the monthly. We could just be pulling back inside the range of the previous month, but when we go to the weekly chart, we do have a new weekly chart uptrend formed here in terms of we've moved up to a higher top. And at the moment, we're having 2 weeks down, but there's another level of support here at 103.45, 405, which can offer support. And as well, because we've created this range here, even though we've got these tops here that maybe we're false breaking at the moment, we could just simply see, if this is a start of a trend where we've moved up to a higher top and then we're having a pullback to put in a higher bottom, then, a change in trend here at the moment on the weekly chart for the dollar index would actually have to see a break of this low down here. I know it's back below those tops, but that doesn't necessarily mean the trend's changing. It just means that it's a little weak at the moment. So we could hold that weekly support level. We could pull back to the 62% level this week or the 79% level. It only gets really, really absolutely conclusively negative if we break this low. So there is a potential that we've had a higher top form there. This is just pulling back maybe to a 62% level. Or maybe we can't break below that weekly level of support there, and we have a turnaround. Of course, at the moment, we move to the day chart here. We have a lower top, lower bottom because that's just correcting that weekly trend that's starting to form. All right, so we are seeing some negativity, but are we seeing a change in trend? That's the question. And that's obviously going to unfold over the next few weeks. Do we start to form a higher bottom on the weekly chart? So if we do start to see a high bottom forming on that weekly chart, then, pairs to the US dollar should start to move down once more. And we're seeing a similar affair on the pound dollar at the moment, in that it's moving up maybe to put in a lower top from a lower bottom. All right, so dollar index there, yes, it's pulling back. Let me just get rid of those blue things so we can just move to the day chart. Pulling back, there's a bit of a downtrend here on the day chart. It could be holding at support here. The euro dollar's been up to, just going to my other screen, it's been up to resistance and kind of holding there at the moment. So this could be holding on support. We'll just have to wait and see. But just look at the day chart here, where we were getting support for that move up to form that higher top on the weekly. All this area here. See all these rejections down before moving up. So really, where the support came in to move up was all from this area here. Okay. So, we could most definitely move into that area, but that's where the 62% level is. So it's worth monitoring. Don't get too aggressive in the idea that maybe the US dollar has changed trends. This is just a pullback at the moment. So if you start to see this area holding, this could be the bottoming of the pullback there for the move up. All right, so look at the S&P 500 now. This is just pulling back within this day chart downtrend here, and we've had a 62% retracement there. So if you like to trade the indices, we may only just be pulling back to the 62% level there to hold, to continue down and put in a further lower top there. There's no trend change there at the moment, really. When we're looking at the wider range down the day chart, this is lower top, lower bottom. Is this putting in a lower top at the 62% level? And then is it moving down? Corrective now, it could move up to the 79% level, but it would need to take that top out to really change the trend. So is it halting there? For then, its next day chart, like down. All right, so you can monitor that. Look for your setup. Maybe we're going to be forming a lower top there. All right. Well, if May dollar index will price reject at the 60 level be a signal for attention? Well, for sure. If it moves down to that level I was just saying, if we move into that level down there, I'll put my little arrows in here and we'll see what it looks like on Thursday. If we move into the 62 level there where all that support was formed before, and then we turn around, that's probably going to be where the higher bottom on the weekly chart forms. If we break through that level, then we may be getting a change, but that's where clear support came in last time in that area. So the market will be watching that area for sure, and the 62% level lines up there as well. All right, and as well, the strongest pair to the US dollar at the moment is the euro dollar, and that makes up 55% of the dollar index. So because the Aussie dollar and the euro dollar today is going down, dollar yen's going up, pound dollar's moving down. So the only thing going up is the euro dollar. So the only thing that's really pulling that dollar index down at the moment, and we are positive for the day. So the only thing that really is weighing down on that trend there on the dollar index is the strength of the euro to the US dollar because of the 55% makeup. So if that only had maybe like a 20% makeup, the dollar index would be going up today. So as well, you have to understand that just because that dollar index is negative doesn't mean to say that everything is negative. You know, the dollar is negative to everything because it's highly weighted to the euro dollar. All right. All right, now let's pop over to the euro dollar. I put out this in Telegram today. I was expecting, as I said on the weekend, that we could hold at this 106.91 area here. But we popped up. We obviously had a little bit of negative news coming into the market. I was thinking we could hold there, but because we had resistance over here, but we've popped up higher. But it's worth understanding that this 106.91 level, if we go to the daily chart, I said this on the weekend, is Friday just gone. We came up to that level and closed below. And the Friday before was this candle here where we closed below. We came up and closed below. Now, last week we did move above, then fell back below. And obviously we're moving back above here. But doesn't mean to say that we're going to be above there come the end of the week, because for 2 weeks in a row, we haven't been able to get above, close above 106.91. So that's still going to be a focal area in the market to watch. Okay. So on the day chart here, I mean, we are moving up from a lower bottom, but this could just be a clear false break of support here. And up here, the high of last week's at 107.59, which was a false break. So 3 days there, we false broke this weekly top here. So if we move to the weekly chart so you can see it, that weekly top there. So, you know, are we going to be holding here to maybe put in a lower top? Or are we going to be moving up and through? At the moment, the market is clearly referencing that top as resistance and it's been trading down from it. So until we can get a clear break above that level, then you have to understand the importance of that area. So we're testing that level today. Put that out in Telegram this morning that we could come up and test that level. And we could have come up to test the high of last week and still fail. Well, could be range bound before the FOMC statements. We had this big drop. Really Monday's top pretty much came here where an imbalance started. So big drop. We've been moving back up to fill the whole imbalance. On the 1 hour chart, you can see the imbalance there, but if you actually move it to a 15-minute chart, you'll see that the imbalance kind of starts, I'll get my crosshairs on, or started pretty much where my crosshairs is. So in the area that we're trading into here. So we've just completely filled the whole imbalance, okay? Often once we fill the imbalance, price will then pause and turn around. So whether or not we're going to see a turnaround here, at the moment, we're most definitely hit the weekly level. Not really trading much into that level. So, you know, this is a good level of resistance. You can start to monitor this area for your setup, whether it's a trend line break, swing point break, or you like the more aggressive approach of just trading at the level with your stop, however many pips above you want to make it. You know, I often use a 100 pip stop, but you can work out exactly how many pips you want to risk if you just want to trade the level. So it may have not stopped going up yet. We could move into this area and then reject. You might see a 4-hour candle entry, 4-hour candle rejection, break of that candlestick from that area. So at the moment, all we know is that we're testing this clear resistance area that we failed at last week. All the sellers are going to come in at the same area. And there's most definitely a range here. So the range, well, the bottom of the range is clearly down here. I wanted to put that in a different color. So the bottom of the range is clearly down here. And the top of the range could be the weekly level, or it could be the daily level. So I'm just using that box as the top of the range. All right, so if you see a failure at the top of the range, you should have an anticipation that we may be moving back down to the bottom of the range. Now, if we clearly break above, it'll be a different story. All right, so you have to work out whether you want to engage up here or on a form of setup, okay? We're definitely at resistance. And the euro yen has been down here at weekly support, rejecting 3 candles here. So this is moving up. Your next resistance level is here, 142.14. That's been a daily top as well. So once we moved below it last week, it became resistance. So that would be a good level to watch as well. So if the euro dollar is going to hold, then the euro yen could hold at this high area here. Could be from let's move it to the 15-minute chart. Could be resistance up here at 142 to 142.14. The figure. Right, so it's had a nice run up. Doesn't look that much, but it's over 150 pips. We've moved up today, just over 150 pips. It's very volatile at the moment, the euro yen. I'm kind of staying away with it because it's got such large ranges. But it is moving back up to a daily top there. And previous support potentially becoming resistance from here. And it was resistance over here. So this is a well-known area, 142.14 area, 14200 area. So you can watch the area for failure. I mean, if we do clearly break above that level, we could be heading up to 142.26, which is this monthly top area over here, which started to become resistance on the failure all the way up here. So that's the area to watch at the moment if you want to engage on the euro yen. And you may want to trade some form of a break above that area. You might want to see 142.14 break and become support to move higher, depending on your overall philosophy of where you think the euro yen is going. But ultimately, at the moment, if we move it to the weekly chart, we have a lower top to the last top. That's breaking, and the trend got a little bit mixed because we had a lower bottom, lower top, higher bottom. That top was still lower to that top, but now we have a lower bottom. So is the weekly trend overall down? So, to keep trading to the downside, don't really want to see 142.14 break. We don't really want to be closing above that level by the end of the day. So it's okay, maybe okay to drift above it, but by the end of the day, if we just close below it, we may well then see a day down tomorrow from that area. I'm just watching the euro dollar on my other screen just to see what it's doing at that 107.36 level. It's still trading a few pips below. All right, so you can watch that area up here. That's the focal area at the moment to watch. Let's hover over to the pound. So I just wanted to show you, like I was just telling you on the dollar index, drawing some swings here for you. We formed a double top up here, and the trend on the weekly trend has turned down now. I was hoping we would stop at the 62 level, which was pretty much the 122 area, but we've obviously popped up yesterday with the bailout of one of the banks. But double top, and we've broken 2 weekly lows here. And we're heading up. And we're getting close to the 79% level now. All right. And we've almost touched this weekly area of resistance over here too. So there's a confluence of reasons to think that the market could hold there. Okay. So structurally, that weekly trend is down, and that's just corrective. That's still corrective up here until we trade above a high here. All right. So I suppose the FOMC and the UK interest rate decision will decide as to whether this weekly trend is going to remain in play to the downside, and this may be putting in a lower top up here. But that structure here over here to 122.93. We've been fractions short of that level. To the daily, we broke yesterday above 122. I thought we were holding there. We held there all last week, and I was looking at 122 overlapping with the 62% level, and some old resistance here too to maybe hold, but we couldn't hold through the London session when it popped up. But we haven't been able to follow through. We have day chart broken support here at 122.63. And whilst we did trade above that level a little bit, you can see that we haven't been able to trade above yesterday's high, and we're starting to be negative for the day. So are we topping out here now and forming that lower top? And this 4 hour is still in an uptrend, but that 122.63 area, you know, we've got a top, see on the 4 hour chart, top here, 122.65, 122.69. So why don't we just color those two tops in? All right, and I might just there we go. So we got 4 hour old supports, 4 hour resistance all the way through that band there. So this is still in an uptrend. We could well still see a further test of that area. Okay, now if we just drop this down to the 15-minute chart, and I've got a question about oil. I'll have a look at oil at the end for you. Is if we have failed up here, you can be drawing a fib from the high to low of the current daily range. See how the 62% level overlaps perfectly with your 122.63 level. Day chart resistance. And the whole band that I've just put in for you is the 62 to 79% area. So that would be an ideal area to look at if we came back up for a failure today. All right, so that's an area to watch on the pound dollar. If we do get a further rally, we may have already started to sell off though. So you're gonna have to work out how you want to get in. If you want to get in, you're gonna wait for a rally or look for something else. All right, so look at the pound yen. So we'll go to the day chart, get that old fib off there. All right, so we're coming back up to, this is an area that we keep holding at for the last 2, 3, 4 days. We've been holding at or below 161.80. I'm just pausing, leave me saying structure has not changed from the upward for a low to high fib. Yeah, I've just drawn it from the high bottom. I don't care. I'll go back to the pound. You can wait if you want to wait. You can wait for. I'm just looking at that as the first decline from resistance, a rally back up, and a failure. Now, I know there's a higher bottom on the 4 hour chart. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a higher bottom, but you can wait for a lower bottom. So you can wait for price to come down and break that low, or break a further low if a further low gets formed. And then look to see whether you can sell a rally. All right. For me, I think this may have already failed there, so I'd be prepared to sell a rally from a higher bottom. Okay. And get the question, how to identify a false break? Well, on whatever time frame you're looking at, if the candle trades, say, above resistance but closes back below resistance, that would be a false break on any time frame, and vice versa at support. If a candle trade below support but closed above support, then I would class that as a false break. All right, so I'm just going to put that fib back in. Now, if you're concerned that's a higher bottom, you don't need to trade the rally. You can wait for a lower bottom. But this is really my 15-minute kind of entry technique that I've been teaching you. Looking for that to come back up there, to then fail and move back down. That's if it does get back up there. It may not get back up there. All right, let's head over to the Aussie yen. Now, put this out on Telegram today that I was looking for a break below 88.10, which is day support at the moment that we're kind of hanging around. Did offer a trade here. I said I wanted to see it break below 8800, then to 8800 to be resistance here, which it offered, and traded down. As long as you managed the risk out of this trade, you'd be okay. You'd have a break-even trade. If you didn't manage it, well, it's going against you at the moment. So I was discussing two levels: a break below, holding below 88 to move further down. It did hold below, but it couldn't hold below long term, or a rally up to the 79% level of yesterday's high to low. All right, we haven't been up to that level yet. But let's have a look at the day charts. So I'll have a look at the weekly chart. I've been looking at this whole moving down. I've been using that as a trend. Been using this as corrective, staying at the 62 up there. And I'm looking to see if this now can break support to move down and through. All right, so that's my kind of understanding of the trend and where I think the trend might go. Now, we could hold at support and not move through. That's always a possibility, but I was trying to get on board a trade today to maybe, trade the break of support if it wants to break. It's not doing that at the moment. And we are getting some support here at day support, quite clearly 88.10. We can trade below it, but we can't exist below it. So anywhere under 88, you've got to be very careful because it keeps popping back up. So two levels. First, this level down here has now been traded and used, so that's no longer warrantable at the moment. But this range of yesterday, 79% up here is still not touched. We've yesterday traded down. We were at the 62 level trying to get above. We were held there in early Asia. So this run up in London is getting pinned here by the Asian top. So maybe we can't move above the Asian top, and we're definitely holding at that 62 area of the range. So maybe we really can't get above the 62% level. So you can work out as to whether you want to trade at this 62% area or close to for a move down, or you want to wait and see where the price can pop up to the 79% area up here. All right. But anywhere below 88 at the moment, seeming support is coming in. So be aware of that, because if you're shorting too low below 88 at the moment, you might sell the bottom and then price comes straight back up, and then it's going to be going against you. All right. So the better level would obviously be up here at the 79% level or even the 89 level, because then you're selling high up. With the opportunity to price just come back down to support and not break, and you can manage your trade effectively. Okay. All right, just checking my questions. All right, so Aussie at the moment, I am looking for a breakdown. Can we trade down through weekly supports with that long-term trend? but looking to sell something a little bit higher up if something can present. All right, so as I was saying, like the euro dollar is most definitely positive today. The pound dollar has been trading down, and you can see here the Aussie dollar is trading down, and we've been existing in this range for the last maybe 3 weeks now, and it can't really hold itself above the 67 level. There's this area of resistance that the market's been trying to move above, 66.94, so almost the 67 level. And quite clearly today, the day is still young. We've still got half a day to go, perhaps. And we could still finish above 66.94. But so look at the 4-hour chart. It is putting in a lower bottom. So Alufame for you, you know, that would have been your perfect scenario rally here. We went down to a lower bottom. You know, if you want to have pure lower bottoms before you draw your fib in, there's your lower bottom there on the Aussie. 4-hour trend broke down. We've had that corrective rally back up. Let's drop it to the 15-minute chart. So that's that range there for the 4-hour. It's moved up. Finally gave, well, it's been testing last week's high. Finally gave away the 79% low, and it's been moving down. Now it hasn't broken the low, but potentially there on the 4-hour chart, we have a lower top, bit of a head and shoulder pattern there at last week's high, just underneath the 79% retracement of this range. So are we topping out there for a move down? All right, if I drop back to the day chart, day chart has actually turned up, but it's trading within this range here. And the weekly trend is down. We've had a bit of a false break of this low here. Still trading all the way. It was that one weekly candle there for the last 2 weeks. We've been trading inside it. So we've just managed to, from a swing analysis point of view, we've had a week up this week. So from a, you know, a swing analysis point of view, we could class that now as a little bit of a swing up. But that's a lower bottom, so we're looking for a lower top to form. Now the Aussie hasn't really been trading much more than 100 pips up in a week. So there's not a lot of buying pressure at the moment compared to some of the other pairs. And just watching that euro dollar, it is moving to a fresh high for the day at the moment. So this Aussie is a lot weaker than the likes of what we've been seeing on the euro dollar and the pound dollar. And it's been the same story on the New Zealand dollar as well. So that's moving back below that daily level of resistance today. You know, if we close down below that level today, and we also, if you break the lower yesterday, that could be the starting to confirm point that we are topping out there for a move down. That 4-hour structure is in a downtrend there. We are trading into some 4-hour support though. This could still kind of go sideways here, but we do have a lower bottom or lower top form there. So I would watch over the next day for sure. Simply the 6,700 level here. Okay, we can't really exist too long above 6,700. We've got 30 pips above it over the last 2 trading days. All right, so any rallies may start to get capped at the 6,700 level if you're looking for this pair to get short. But of course, up here, failing at last week's high. Now, the lessons that I've given you on failing at last week's high and last week's low, last month's low, last month's high. Last week's high here, it failed there. Just failed Monday. Failed Monday once, twice, 3 times. Final failure in early Asia today. So quite clearly, the market's watching last week's high. So if we get another test of last week's high, clearly that would be a level to watch for failure. But we might not get back up there. 6,700 may start to become the barrier, or even 66.94, that resistance level. Okay. Well, I just want to quickly go through the euro pound. We may well be having a reversal down here. I'm just looking, I did my Tuesday analysis on this. It's a new pair that I'm analyzing, but this is monthly and weekly support down here, 87.22 and 87.21. All right. And really, this is weekly resistance and daily resistance up here. But here's the broad range. So are we failing at the bottom of the range now to move back up to the top of the range? All right. You know, trading above yesterday's candle is going to put a bit of a swing up here and maybe start to confirm that, yes, we are moving up. To your 4-hour chart, if you want to try and buy a dip on a 4-hour chart, here we have a higher bottom to just a higher top. Draw your fib in. We'll look to buy a 62 or 79% pullback. Looking like we may be bottoming down there on weekly, monthly support to move back up the range there. And you know, my range trade entry, it actually gave you it there. So if I was using the range that I've drawn in with the blue lines, my range would be like so. This blue line here could be straighter. Let's just get a bit straighter. All right, there's the top of my range, and we've got the bottom of the range down there. So if you're wise to the idea that we may be trading in that range, then you could have bought at support, stop at the 127R down here, looking to trade back up to the top of the range. That's the range trade I've been teaching you this month, okay? So it's most definitely, of course, you have to have the nerve to trade it down there, or you could wait for some form of reversal. Now at the 79% level of the range, you could be selling at the 79% level. Sorry, you could be buying at the 79% level, putting your stop below the low, and that will offer you almost a risk reward of 1 to 4 if you trade back up to the top of the range. So that's how you can create good risk reward structure within that range. We never know if the range is going to hold. I mean, this could just turn around and break support, but that's how you can construct a very good risk to reward trade. All right, so on the euro pound, just looking to see, is the 87.22 level going to hold a support to move back up to the top of the range there? All right, we covered the euro yen. Now it's holding at 142 at the moment. We covered the euro dollar, which is just sniffing inside this area at the moment. Not quite giving up the ghost yet. And I think I didn't quite go through the pound yen, did I? I got sidetracked with a question, I think, and then I went over to the Aussie yen. So let's go through the pound yen now. Apology for that. So I was saying on the pound yen, I don't know why I got distracted. Can't remember, but I clearly did. So the last 4 trading days here on the pound yen, we've been holding at this area here. Now this area here is a weekly top. All right, so it's obviously coming up and asking the question, can we move back above that weekly top? We haven't been able to move above it for 4 days. It's been resistance. So, and I've been looking at that as the trend move down. So I've been looking at that as a trend move down. Very similar to what I was showing on the Aussie yen. This as a move up, failing at the 79%, for then the potential of a trend move down to test support to move through. All right, so as long as we can't move back above that weekly top, that could come to fruition. If we move above that weekly top, it's less likely at the moment. All right, but that's how I'm looking at the trend. Now, on the daily chart, we have a bit of a double top up here to a lower bottom. So let me just get rid of that fib at the moment. So there's a bit of a range there that we're trading back up inside. Here we go. 62 level is pretty much at where price is right now. Let's just get this fib adjusted. So that's last week's range. So we're coming up inside last week's range. And 61.80 is your weekly resistance level. 62% fibs at 16200, so a 20 pip area there. So you can monitor that area. Do you see you're set up to sell, to trade down from that level? I would say the area of resistance is there. Those tops all taken into consideration as well. Because this area here, we're false breaking that weekly resistance there. So the market may disregard the weekly resistance and look at these tops too. All right. But clearly, there's resistance at the moment. This isn't where you want to buy for sure. Now, of course, price can move up and through and beyond, but that is not where I'm going to buy. This is where I would be looking on my 50-minute chart for the potential. You know, you can make a decision just to sell, maybe put a 100 pip stop in place, or you wait for a clear 50-minute structure change, trend line break, or swing point break down from that level. Okay. Anybody looking at the pound yen today? Right, so that's the pound yen. Pound dollar. It is just starting to uptick back up there. Is it going to come in back up to the area? New Zealand yen. Now I've already colored in the weekly range that's been in existence there for quite a while. Now, like I've been showing you on the Aussie yen and the pound yen, where I think the trend may be down. I've been looking at this as a trend move down. I've been looking at all this consolidation here as corrective. If I draw a fib, we couldn't quite get to the 62 level, and then we started to move down. Now, it is rather range bound. We've by no means broken out of the range. There's a few ranges within the range here, but let's just get rid of that line. This is a weekly low that we've broken below. So can we now hold below that weekly low to come down and challenge these lows, and can these lows break? Now, can these yen, like I was showing on the Aussie yen, can the Aussie yen low support area break? So this is very similar. It's got similar lows to the Aussie yen. Is the Aussie yen, New Zealand going to break? So if we can't break, well, of course, we'll probably move back up. So the thing to watch here would be, we could come up to this area of weekly now resistance to then trade down. So that would be a level that I would watch for resistance at the moment. Might not rally back up, but that will be an area to watch. We could just simply move down to here and not be able to break down. So then you could look for a lower time frame setup to trade back up from that level. Or you could be maybe trend trading this pair and you're looking for a break of support. All right, so, you know, if we keep getting risk off things coming to the market, like we've been having with all these banks falling over, then there is the potential for the Aussie yen and the New Zealand yen here to break down. For sure, as we look at the pairs to the US dollar at the moment, the Aussie dollar to the US, we'll get to the New Zealand dollar in a moment, New Zealand dollar to the US, they're actually negative today. And their crosses to the yen are, you know, generally speaking, negative. So maybe we're going to see a breakdown and a long-term through support here. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the New Zealand yen for sure has been in a long period of consolidation. From a long period of consolidation, you're going to get a strong trend breakout in one direction. So we're going to see a strong directive break to the downside on the New Zealand yen. You can monitor it. All right, so giving you the weekly levels there to watch the trade around. It's kind of in between weekly support and weekly resistance here at the moment, so that's not very entertaining. But just to the 50-minute chart here, you know, if that can come up there today, and it's a fraction above the central pivot point, so this area up here, that will be the area to watch, central pivot point to weekly resistance, if we can get up there. But we might not be able to get up there because in early Asia, it could only get to here. So we might not be able to get there. And 82 may be coming resistance because that rally just got capped there. But that would be a great area to watch for a turnaround up there. 82.23 approximately to 82.31. All right, so the New Zealand dollar could be forming a little bit of a double top up here. As I said, Aussie dollar is negative today. New Zealand dollar is probably the most negative of the pairs to the US dollar for whatever reason. And let's look at structurally. I know there's a big question about, is the US dollar changing trend? But New Zealand dollar structurally on the weekly here, we've had the potential of a double top forming up there. To initiate a change in trend, okay. False break. Got the question before, what's a false break? Well, that weekly candle there tried to move above. In fact, whoever asked me the question, can't see the name, but whoever asked me the question on this weekly chart here, all those 3 weekly candles there false broke resistance because they're all closed. They couldn't close above. All right, so that to me, that's my classification of a false break. So we moved up, created some form of a double top up there, and then we've had a shift of trend to a lower bottom. All right, and at the moment, it's just coming up to search for where potentially is it going to put in a lower top. Maybe it's going to put its lower top in there. Now, if that's the case, that's not a very high rally. It hasn't got back to the 62% level at the moment. And let's break it down to the day chart. On the day chart, this area 60 to 70 once and now twice is holding any corrective rally. So are we forming a double top up here? So if we are, draw a fib across your range, and then, you know, here's your double top, potentially. We've already broken the low of the day before, so it is confirming a double top, and we're moving below the 79% level. I like to be in by the 79% level of that fib. So there's the double top. So if we break the midpoint, then we're looking to trade down towards the 200% level there, which is at 58.92. So are we, you should have already been in really if you were clued up. I said this morning, if we break the low of yesterday, it's going to start to confirm the double top in my video this morning. So, you know, are we reversing there? And I'm getting asked, so head and shoulders on the weekly. Wow, it's most definitely maybe a double top on the weekly. Let's just go back. I don't know if there's a head and shoulders there, because where's your right shoulder? That could be a left shoulder. That could be a head, but then, you know, price would have to come all the way. Price would have to come, even if we disregard this bit and said that that's the left shoulder. Head, come up to a right shoulder. So I'm not quite sure where you're looking at for your head and shoulder, but we'd have to come up a lot higher in my mind if we're going to form some form of head and shoulder there. But we most definitely, I think, form some form of double top there. All right, so back to the daily there. Let me just put that back in. You can review that on Thursday. Are we forming a double top there? All right, let's move along to the dollar Canadian. All right, overall on the weekly structure here, we're in an uptrend and we're pulling back. And can we hold the area that we're looking at the moment? This area here, there's an old monthly top there that we're sitting on top of. All right, can we hold there to continue up? We got CPI data coming out later on tonight. That will probably determine if monthly support 136.64 and day support here 136.51 is going to hold here. Sitting on all these tops to the left here. There's a weekly top here as well. So you could look at this whole area as possible support zone for a move back up. So it's probably going to be difficult to get in. You're either going to have to be in and hope that price moves up, because when the data comes out, it'll probably, you know, move aggressively one way or the other. So it's a little bit tricky to get in at the moment. But over the course of the week, getting past today's news event, you know, if you start to see support here at 136.64 to 136.51, we could be getting ready for the next move up. So 4-hour chart still a bit negative there, but if you start to see the 4-hour chart forming some form of an uptrend, then we could well be moving higher. Just look to buy a dip on the 4-hour chart, pullbacks. But I'll have to wait and see what the news brings. So what we can see here is that very impulsive move above monthly resistance that was, where we're sitting on top of it now. So 136.64 is the monthly level. So we moved above here. So this imbalance hasn't actually quite been filled. There's an imbalance that started there, and then we went up to there. So we've almost filled the whole imbalance. In fact, there's a bit more of an imbalance. That's the whole imbalance, or areas within there that are imbalances all the way down to the bottom there. So we haven't been able to fill the whole imbalance. And we've come back, you know, we broke above support. Sorry, we broke above resistance. We've moved back to support, moved back down to support once more. So if we see a further hold here at 136.51 to 136.64 today after the news, and we start to turn around, get a positive 4-hour candle there, we could see a reversal from that area. So that's worth watching. Dollar franc, I've been looking at the possibility of a double bottom forming down here on monthly support along here. This double bottom forming on the day chart here. So my pattern is up to that high, down to there, and the target is at 98.20 if we can break this mid high here. Now we've had a very impulsive move up. You know, are we forming a higher bottom now within this range to continue up? It's a bit difficult to get in now. If you didn't get in down here, all this price action here has all this resistance. There's daily resistance, there's monthly resistance, there's weekly resistance, all in the way of the move up. So could we have a double bottom forming? But this isn't, you know, in this resistance area isn't the greatest place to be a buyer. But if you move it to your 4-hour chart, then it's very range bound and choppy at the moment, but support is here on the 4-hour chart. So looking at that area, and that number is round about 92.28. That almost got down to 92. So 92.28 down to 92 is being support at the moment. So, you know, trying to get a buy position around about the 92 level maybe. I was also doing some work. Let me just tidy this off at the moment. With that very impulsive move up, you could look at that whole range there, which is last week's range, and then look to the 62% level or the 79% level. Especially when we have the FOMC, we could spike back down into support. This is day support here at 91.37. So yes, that means we come all the way back down the range, but there's day support at 91.37, the 79% fibs down there too. So we don't know what the FOMC statement will bring and how price will react. That double bottom pattern could still hold in play, but we could revisit the lower area of the range for then another move up. All right, so most definitely worth watching down there. But at the moment, around 92.28 to 9200 is offering 4-hour support in through here. All right, then moving to the dollar yen. We're quite positive today, and that's because I'm going to my weekly chart here. there's a weekly low here. I put this out this morning in the video. Support there, that was support through here, became resistance, became support here. So if I get my support there, became resistance through there, and then it was support there. So we've been a bit of a fraction short of that level, but there's actually weekly and day support where the area there that I'm just coloring in. Day support, weekly support. Now we may just have a day up from this area, or we may have a longer term, move. I'm just looking at my other screen, that euro dollar is moving up at the moment. So that whole range there, 62% level of that whole range coincides with support. So that dollar yen could be getting support there for, that could be the first rather large move up. This could be the pullback, and then we're moving up. So over the next few days, if we do come down into 130.40, look for potential support there. The FOMC may spike it down there. Right, it's worth watching that area over the next few days if we can spike into that level. All right, let's move on to gold. Let's tidy a few things up. All right, so here's the monthly range that I've been looking at. Could still put a lower top in on the monthly chart here, but of course we know that from the weekly perspective, we have a higher bottom to a higher top to a higher bottom to a further higher top. But, that top just there, the first lower top there on the day chart, so on the weekly chart, when we started to move down, 1998.33. It's got weekly top there. It's most definitely been a headache. Really for me, that's in an uptrend on the weekly, been very strong. And that's quite a nasty rejection yesterday, but the trend there on the day is still up. I mean, if you're wanting to short this, I think you might want to see the day chart give you a reason to. That day trend is still very strong. We could just have 1 or 2 days of a correction there, and then boom, it continues up. So if you're looking to trade short at these very high levels, you want to clearly defined day chart change in trend, I think. Other than that, we're not pulling back yet beyond or below 1959.74. That's really, that should be defended by the buyers if we're going to continue moving up. So we've hit weekly resistance. There's your day support. The 4-hour chart, you do have a slight downtrend on the 4-hour, and that top over here that I've just drawn in is last month's high. So the buyer should be watching 1959 to be support for a continued move up. If we move below there and start to make that level resistance on a 4-hour chart, we're probably moving down. Okay, so still a continued uptrend there on the daily. Question would be, can 1959 hold a support if it gets tested for a continued move up to retest and challenge that 1998 area up here? Okay. But on the day chart, that's very, very overextended, and it is at very historical high levels up there. So I don't know if it's an area where I'd really like to buy, but trend can continue for sure. As long as you still got high tops and bottoms, the trend's in play there on the day chart. All right, now somebody wanted me to go through oil, so I'll quickly look at that one. You want UK Brent or USWTI? Just let me know. While I'm waiting for an answer, let's just go back to that euro dollar. Euro yen must have been going through 142 a little bit because the euro dollar trading into that area at the moment. Just move to a 4-hour chart. So we're coming up to where we had a triple 4-hour top last week and then a final spike above. So it was clearly very expensive last week. 107.48. All right. So watch 107.48. What does the market do at that level? False broke it. So the question I got asked earlier in the webinar was, what's a false break? Well, see that kind of triple top on the 4-hour chart, that candle there spikes up, closes below. All right, so everybody's telling me US oil. WTI. All right, well, I don't even have to look at oil to tell you what trend is because I know it's down. Just as I was looking at yesterday, this monthly trend is down here, lower top to a lower bottom. There's a definite level of support here that the market's going to need to entertain, 62.30. So that's going to be a critical area for the market to decide, are we going below that level or are we going to hold? All right, this area here, because that's where this impulsive move went up and we got kind of a double bottom there. So that area and all those tops to the left there as well. So in actual fact, you know, if I link this area together, that area just there is where you might find support. And obviously we stubbed in there. So, but the monthly trend is down and the weekly trend is down. We're obviously getting some form of a bounce here. But weekly resistance is that low there, 72.482. So we may well see a corrective move up to that level at the moment, or we might just move to this low. I'm using this low because it's the most newly formed low, and it's the last one that got broken after being formed. To the daily, then this is most clearly down, even though we're having a bounce. So, you know, until that day structure really changes and shows any form of an uptrend, you still have a downtrend. But you have to be cautious in that area that I've just drawn in down here. That area kind of starts at or around about 66.48. So about 66.5 is where potentially, you know, long-term support could come in. But then you need to see the day chart prove it to you, because at the moment that's been consolidating on the 72.48 area. So 72.5 is where the market's been consolidating on support, and then we've had a break of trend to the downside. So it isn't most definitely a downtrend. I don't know if you guys are looking to be a buyer on this or a seller, but it isn't a downtrend. You know, you want to see that day chart turn to an uptrend, I think, before you get too. No, unless you want to be real clever. You know, you do have a rejection candle there of yesterday. You could get in long right now. Fingers crossed that we're going to move up to 72.48, and then you can be risk-free. And then what happens after that? So I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'll just shorten it to Izu. Hopefully that doesn't offend you. So you're saying you're a seller with a stop at 81. Yeah, I mean, the last high there was at 80.96, so yeah, stop above 81. You give the market a lot of room though there. Really, I would say really, depending on where you sold at, that's where your stop's at, but I don't know where you sold it at. You know, if you're a seller holding a short in profit, you really don't want to see price move back above that area. Because if once it does, then it has the opportunity to move up to that area and then this area. All right, so, you know, we had a clear break. See that candle top there? We move to the 4-hour chart. When we broke below that level on that particular day, the higher the next day was at resistance, just here. So really, you don't want to see price, you know, move above that area there. Because once it does, then there's every chance that you could see that we're getting a change in trend. So you'll have to work out yourself how you want to manage, but definitely in a downtrend, but we are, you know, trading into on the higher time frame there on the weekly or in the monthly, an area of where support could come in. All right, so that's worth monitoring. All right, everybody, any final questions? Just going to hop back to the euro dollar. All right, so it's holding at 107.48. Will it be holding there all day and move down? You can monitor that. Pound dollar, it's not getting up to. It's worth noting, whilst I'm looking at that area for a rally back up to, it is worth noting here that from a simple 50-minute trend here, once we move below that area, lower top, lower bottom, lower top to two lower bottoms here, is we may only just be trading within this range. 79% level there, just to continue down, just a continuation on the 50-minute trend down there. All right, so whilst that, you know, would like to see that move up to that level, market might not do that. I come up with levels that I would like to trade at or around, and price doesn't always get there. So whereas I'm talking, it's just trying to bid up there a little bit, but you can monitor it and work out how you want to trade that pair through the day. And Slav, you're saying the euro may have reached the top. Well, it's definitely holding at like 107.48. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully. I'd like to see some US dollar strength. You know, we'll have to wait and see. All right, everybody, thanks very much for your questions. Joining me this evening. Tomorrow we've got, on the webinar front, I'm going to take you through the 4-hour trade entry position trading using the 4-hour charts technique. I've gone through that before, but well worth looking at that in this volatile market. So that's tomorrow, 8 p.m. Sydney time, and then more live market analysis on Thursday. So if you want to come and join me, just head over to the webinar page and register your interest. If you're on our YouTube live stream, thanks very much for being on there. I couldn't see your questions, but hopefully you got some valuable information. And for everybody else, hopefully you got some information that you can work with. I just, you know, be aware of all the risk items coming out this week. Just head over to Forex Factory. We've got the Canadian inflation figures coming out 10:30 p.m. All right, early Thursday morning, the US interest rate decision, Swiss interest rate decision, UK interest rate decision later on the day on Thursday. Okay. All right, with all that in mind, thanks very much, everybody. Trade safely, manage your risk. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.